Hello and welcome to another episode of Anime Explained. I'm Shergok, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at what happened to our sweet little cornate berserker Eris after leaving rudeus with nothing but self-doubt and a very cryptic message. But before we're going to do so, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as say thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And now with that said, let's get to the topic at hand. At the end of Season 1 of Mushoku Tensei, rudeus was deeply traumatized and shaken to his core, all because Eris had ghosted him. The whole ordeal took quite a toll on Rudy and was the reason he embarrassed himself in front of Sarah, and had to fight off that noodle syndrome for the next couple of years. And again, Rudy was really down because Eris didn't say anything to him, except for this cryptic farewell letter, claiming that Rudy and Eris weren't on the same level. Now, this was not meant to be demeaning, but Eris isn't exactly great with words, and Rudy, due to his past as a hikikomori, naturally assumed the worst. But while we followed Rudy's journey, it became quite about Eris, in both the anime and the light novel. And all of that had changed when we gotten a few pages from Eris' perspective in the volumes that were adapted for the second season, specifically the volumes 9 and beyond. Usually on the last pages at the end of them. In those pages, we see Eris arriving at her destiny, at her goal, in the sword sanctuary in the holy land of the sword, along with Ghislaine, and the current reigning sword god, Galfarion, immediately recognized Eris as a rough gem with enormous potential, while the rest of the sword saints were appalled by her lack of social skills and courtesy. However, after Eris defeated and humiliated Nina Farion, the daughter of Galfarion himself, and then survived a hit from a rather angry daddy, she earned the right to train and study alongside the other sword saints. And the reason why Galfarion could tolerate Eris' somewhat deficient social skills, to say the absolute least, and her outbursts is because he almost regretted how he trained Ghislaine, even though she's a sword king. According to Galfarion, she has lost her edge. Granted, she finally learned how to read and write, and is no longer excessively aggressive, as she was once in her youth. And similar to Eris, Ghislaine was considered a failure in her family, or rather her tribe back then. And by the way, that's also why Persina and Linia were sent to Ranoa, because their tribes wanted to avoid them just ending up like Ghislaine. But again, although Ghislaine gained a lot of wisdom and discipline, and later thanks to Rudy, had also learned how to read and write, and can now even use a bit of magic, she became tamer and calmer in the process. She no longer had the same hunger and anger for becoming stronger that Eris has, who still has the same level of self-discipline and patience as a rabid werewolf in a butcher's shop. And Galfarion wanted to preserve this raw aggression, which is perfect for sword god-style swordsmanship. You see, Eris had set herself a goal that Galfarion also attempted but failed at. She wanted to kill Orsted, who effortlessly defeated her and him. And that's why Eris' training in the sword god domain doesn't primarily focus on discipline or learning etiquette, or much instruction at all. Instead, it's centered around physical training and sparring with other students and students from different swordmaster school, such as the sword school of the water god. This is because it was water god technique that led to Eris crashing into the mountain wall during her battle against Orsted. And since Orsted has mastered basically all the techniques in this world, Eris must now learn various sword fighting styles in order to attempt to defeat him. This approach worked surprisingly well, because as the story progressed, Eris found herself in a similar dynamic to the one Sebas, Albedo and Cocytus had in Overlord. Just as Albedo is stronger than Sebas because her defense is high enough to withstand Sebas' unarmed attacks, Cocytus is stronger than Albedo, because his attack power can break through Albedo's defense. And finally, Sebas is balanced enough to defeat Cocytus. Eris, in this respect, is stronger than Nina Farion, but constantly gets defeated by Isolde, who is the grandchild of Rhaeda Raya, the reigning goddess of the water god style, and in turn, Isolde loses to Nina Farion. This is because Eris learned from Rudyard how to control her opponent's actions and reactions through eye contact and subtle gestures, allowing her to dictate the flow of battle, so Eris doesn't merely react to her opponent, but compels them to behave as she desires. This was Nina's major problem when she fought against Eris, and that's why she lost time and time again against her. At the same time, Eris was openly aggressive, again on the level of a coronate berserker, and also as stable as a stick of dynamite in a preheated oven, making it easy for Isolde to read and counter her actions and attack patterns, because that's just how water god style works, it counters and reacts. And finally, Nina, after being defeated by Eris and Bardigadi, and surprised by Rudy's strength, learned humility and lost her arrogance. She learned to control herself. In fact, she was so disciplined that Isolde couldn't predict or counter her attacks, which is the foundation of her entire fighting style. And during all of this time, Eris wasn't necessarily the calmest or most self-controlled in the trio, but she opened up and exchanged tips and tricks with Nina and Isolde, something she wouldn't have done a few years earlier. So as Rudy studied magic at the Academy of Ranoa and became a better caster, she also improved as a swordsman in the Holy Land of the Sword. Oh, and yes, she still believes that she is with Rudy and that he is waiting for her. But that's a topic for either Season 3 or Season 4 of Mushoku Tensei. Oh, and finally here's a fun fact. The entire Sword Gods domain and the character design of Nina Farion and the others also strongly remind me of the video game series Fire Emblem, where there are also character classes like Sword Saints. I'm not sure if all of this is really inspired by Fire Emblem, but if it is, it's safe to say that the author of Mushoku Tensei has a great taste in video games. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching. Be sure to tell me your thoughts and ideas about Eris and her training arc in the comment section, and as usual, I say my special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Beezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord Plaxi du Saxophone, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralchivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Lelouch Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loverazor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, Oh Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Cune Caracos P, Shergox's Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rak Edsmeshar, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenokai und Sonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.